Hello and welcome to Mums, Money and More. As we celebrate International Women's Day this month, we are shining light on a topic that is often overlooked: attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, also otherwise known as ADHD in women. Today, we will dive into the unique challenges that comes with ADHD in women and explore why it is so important to understand and support women living with it. I am thrilled to have with me today Dr. Zainab Shaukat of Psych Connect. She is an ADHD coach and experienced educational therapist who has dedicated her career to helping individuals with ADHD, particularly women and children, guiding them to find the strategies and support that they need to thrive in both their personal and professional lives. We will be discussing the often misunderstood nature of ADHD in women and how it can manifest differently from what people might expect. We will also be discussing practical tips and insights for those who may be struggling or seeking guidance, as well as how we can break down the stigma surrounding ADHD in women. So without further ado, let's dive into this important conversation. Dr. Zainab, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Pamela, for having me and for taking the time out. I commend women like you who are having these conversations and starting these conversations to increase awareness in the society. That is wonderful.
So as we know that in recent years, ADHD, we have been hearing so much about it in children, right? But we barely hear anything about ADHD in women. So are the symptoms of ADHD in adults the same as that in children?
You are absolutely right. There is definitely more information out there, more awareness, more diagnosis in children as compared to adults. And the biggest reason is that children, they display more externalizing behaviors. They are under constant adult supervision in schools and at homes, and these adults take these children to seek help and support, which is why diagnosis in children is higher as compared to adults, which is why the discussion around ADHD is more for children as compared to adults. You are absolutely again right that adults, they display different presentation and symptoms of ADHD as compared to children. And then we come to the biggest difference, which is the gender difference, where women, girls and women, they display different symptoms of ADHD as compared to boys and men.
That's interesting. So just now you mentioned that there is a difference in the ADHD symptoms between women and girls. So could you elaborate a little bit more on this?
Absolutely. See, ADHD is a developmental condition, which means as the individual grows and develops into different ages and stages in their life, their ADHD grows and develops and changes as they grow. And because we know that hormonally, when we look at the hormonal ages and stages in girls as compared to women, they are different. Hormonally, a teenage girl, say for example, would be going through the differences in and the fluctuations in their premenstrual and menstrual cycles, whereas women would be going through prepartum, intrapartum, postpartum, perimenopausal and menopausal stages. And the hormonal changes are different in both of these scenarios, which is why girls and women, they might present differently as well.
Right. So in that case, am I right to say that actually if we were to talk about between girls and women, it's so much more obvious to find it in the little girls than in the grown-up ladies like ourselves then?
It could be. Actually, most of the women who seek help and diagnosis for ADHD are perimenopausal women in the world.
Oh, so it's actually much later in the stage.
Absolutely. Because we know that in menopause and before menopause, the estrogen levels start going down. And estrogen levels are a stimulator for the release of norepinephrine and dopamine. And they keep the levels up. Which is why when the estrogen levels start going down, the dopamine and norepinephrine level also start going down in women. Which is why perimenopausal women, they face the most severe symptoms of ADHD.
Okay, I see. So in this case, am I right to say that ADHD in adults, particularly women, often go unnoticed, and it can also be misinterpreted? Is that really the truth?
Absolutely. For the longest time, ADHD was considered as a hyperactive condition, which is why when we saw symptoms of hyperactivity, that would lead to a diagnosis of ADHD or an assessment of ADHD. But what happens when there are no symptoms of hyperactivity?
Correct.
And now research shows that women, their diagnosis is more skewed towards inattentive type of ADHD rather than hyperactivity. So what we see in girls and what we see in women are symptoms of inattention. There is avoidance, there is social avoidance, social anxiety, daydreaming, not asking for help. We don't see girls running around in the classrooms disrupting the classroom. We see that in boys generally. And for the longest time, it was considered as boys being boys.
Correct.
Right? So when there are no symptoms of hyperactivity, when there is no classroom disruption, then what leads to a diagnosis? So for that, people, generally the society needs to have the awareness that ADHD is not recognized only by hyperactivity. ADHD is also recognized by inattention.
Okay, wow. That means that maybe even I may be someone with ADHD, because I always have a case that I'm not able to concentrate on my stuff as well.
A lot of us, yes. I could also have ADHD. Who knows? We haven't gone for an assessment. And the biggest thing is also that ADHD has a very high prevalence in the society. It is very common. Right now, CDC data shows that 5% or 5 to 6% of childhood population has ADHD. And we know that as you grow, you just don't magically shed off ADHD, it grows with you. Which means that if 5 to 6% of child population has ADHD, all that child population is going to grow up and have ADHD as well.
Right, so in this case, it's actually very important for us to know, in the context of the current children, it's very important for them to be able to be identified if they have the symptom. Because like you mentioned, we will not outgrow it. We will have to go with it, right?
Absolutely.
So if this is the case, then what are some of the strategies that women can have to come and help manage this ADHD condition within them then?
It depends on, to begin with, the age and stage that they are in. These days, women are working, they are moms, they are managing households, they are dropping their kids off to school, picking their kids off to school, dropping them to CCAs, picking them up from CCAs, and the list goes on and on and on. They're superheroes, they're doing so many things. At any point of time, they can't possibly be expected to do it all alone. We know that individuals with ADHD are highly creative and highly resourceful, and yet they are scared to ask for help. There is so much of shame and guilt that goes on with the diagnosis of ADHD that leads them not to ask for help. It is also that the help often given to them is help coming with the idea that they are unable to do this, which is wrong. They are perfectly able to do it. The help and support that they are needing and requiring is non-judgmental support. That it's all right, if you miss something, I am right behind you, or you can ask us for help. So the best thing that women these days with ADHD can do is go and ask for the right support, is to gather a village around them. Just like it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village for a woman, generally not even with ADHD, for a woman to manage her household as well as her work. I am a working mother, and I am so grateful for the support that I am surrounded by. I am surrounded by a wonderful team here. I am blessed with a wonderful helper, with a wonderful husband who is helping me manage all of these things, right? If I am struggling to sometimes manage, I can bet a woman with ADHD is also struggling to manage. And the first and foremost thing that they can do is go shamelessly and gather support around themselves.
Right, and I think, like what you said, asking for help is never easy. Even for me, sometimes when I meet something, I'm like, should I gonna ask this person? Should I not? And there's a tendency to actually hold back. So in such cases, how do you think our society should actually help to support this women that has ADHD conditions then?
I think the first step that the society can do, which the society is doing, today's conversation is an evidence, is to have these conversations, is to normalize these conversations. There is so much of discussion around diversity and inclusion at workplaces. I feel that the talk is a lot, but the walk is still less. There needs to be more walk. There need to be more meaningful conversations at workplaces, pantry conversations, business meeting conversations. What are some accommodations that can be provided to neurodivergent individuals? and they need to be normalized so that neurodivergent individuals can feel less guilt and shame when they need to go and ask for help.
Yeah, I think that's a very great point that you have made on how the society can actually help women, because sometimes women are just very introverts. We tend to keep everything inside within ourselves and we don't say it out. So maybe I think the next question I would like to ask is, so how do you think husbands in particular can actually help the wives who may be so frustrated with whatever that they are handling at home? How can they actually lend this helping hand without being scolded?
That is such a good point. What can husbands do? My list is endless. What my husband can do is, my list is endless. But I feel, coming to your point, the first and maybe the very basic bare minimum thing that a partner can do for their spouse is validation. Mm-hmm. Just acknowledging the fact that you are doing this and I am grateful. Right? Both partners need to show gratitude to each other and respect to each other, and just a validation and basic recognition that you are doing a lot. Because most of the time what moms do goes unrecognized because, hey, that's your job, you're supposed to do it. If you can't do this, what can you do?
Yes, that's right.
And acknowledgement and validation makes a huge difference. Just ending the day on a note of acknowledgement that I am grateful for the support that you gave today can make a huge difference in an ADHD's life.
Right. So this pretty much brings back the language of love that I think I read on a book. Everybody speaks the different language of love. Some people via validation, some people via action. So is that what you were referring to as well?
Absolutely. You see, when we talk about ADHD and we talk about executive functioning, what we miss out is that executive functioning is a higher evolutionary model. It is a hallmark of highly evolved individuals, which is why human beings have executive functionings, and then there are certain animals which have executive functioning. As we went up the path of evolution, executive functioning developed. But like any other highly evolved characteristic, it rests on certain basic needs that need to be met. And for executive functioning to develop properly, we need emotional regulation and we need sensory regulation. And we know that individuals with ADHD do not only have impaired executive functioning, they also have heightened sensory awareness and hence emotional dysregulation. So for anyone to have executive functioning in place, they need to have emotional regulation. And emotional regulation plays a huge role in moms with ADHD as well. When we come back to validation, what can a simple sentence of acknowledgement do to a woman with ADHD? It can give them the emotional support and emotional grounding that yes, I was good today, I was productive today. Every mom wants to go to sleep thinking that I was a good mom today. Every woman wants to go to sleep that I was productive today. Every individual wants to go to sleep thinking I had a good day. And acknowledgement and validation can help you to put that checkbox in place.
Right. So means that if, let's say, a mom were to feel very overwhelmed for the day because whatever that happened, the kids made you angry, or the household chores, everything didn't turn out right. Am I right to say that it's absolutely fine for any woman to just break down and just let the feelings out?
Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And they can do that in multiple ways. We go back to, you asked the question, what are certain tools and strategies that they can put into place, and what are some things that they can do? The biggest thing that they can do is to set aside a time for self-check-ins and for mindfulness-based activities, because that will allow them to stop and take a pause for the whole day and check in with themselves. How did I do today? Okay. How do I feel about myself? And that allows them to go and see what is it that they got done, not only what they missed. If they can end their day recognizing, I did this today, and for this I am extremely proud of myself and I give myself a pat on the back. There they go, taking the first box of validation and acknowledgement.
There you have it, ladies. It's fine for you to let out any emotions that you're feeling, be it whether is it a happy one or a sad one, because this is what we all call self-care. So, Dr. Zainab, for women who suspect that they might have ADHD, what steps can they take to actually seek help or better understand the symptoms that they are experiencing?
I think the first thing that needs to be understood here is that finding the right source and finding the right help is the key to managing ADHD. We live in a world of social media. There are millions of YouTube videos, TikTok videos, and Instagram reels on what is ADHD, how to self-diagnose with ADHD, ADHD self-diagnosing toolkits and checklists and whatnot and questionnaires, right? All of it leads to a lot of conversation about ADHD, but a lot of hiding as well, because a lot of people can go, anyone can go and check. I can go and check half of the boxes. But for me to come up with a diagnosis of ADHD, I need to go and see a clinical psychologist who has the right tools and the full diagnostic assessment to understand whether what you're experiencing is ADHD, or because ADHD has a huge overlap with a number of other mental health conditions. They are the right people to make that differentiation and distinction. And so that you can not end up with a missed diagnosis or a wrong diagnosis. In fact, you end up with a right diagnosis.
I think this is absolutely true. With so many videos and social media, sometimes, we have so much information and we are misdiagnosing ourselves because we think that this is happening and it relates. Yeah, so if that's the case, besides going to a psychologist, are there also specific tools, apps, or techniques that you can recommend for women with ADHD such that they can stay organized and also focus while they're doing their things?
Absolutely. There are one thing that I always say in my coaching sessions to my coaches is that you are creative, you are resourceful. There are tons of strategies and tools out there. Just pick things up and see what helps you, and what helps you, you keep it, and what doesn't help you, you chuck it out of the window. Having said that, there are some tools and strategies, some apps which are gold standard in helping individuals with ADHD. Family calendars, Google Calendars, God bless my phone. Without my phone, I would have been a mess. All of us would have been a mess, right? Family calendars are a huge help in managing your ADHD, because the ability of wonderful and yet sometimes debilitating ability of individuals with ADHD is for them to zoom in on the present. Because they zoom in on the present and tend to sometimes hyperfixate on the present so much, they can do wonderfully in that present, but miss everything that is going around. Which is why it is easy for them to zoom in and miss what is coming up next in my schedule. Family calendars help to have the whole family adding their things in the calendar, so that it is not only the mom who is adding everything in the calendar for a change, it is everyone else taking on the responsibility. That also makes your children become independent and responsible as well.
Absolutely true. I'm a mother of two. One is in Set 2, one is a PSLE year. There's so much that's ongoing besides their classes, their enrichment. It's never ending. But like you mentioned with the calendar, it's so easy to see. Even if the children were to overlap in terms of their enrichment, different spouse will just take over the different responsibility of bringing them to classes. It makes things so much easier.
Absolutely. Everyone can be on the same page, and then it is not only up to you that you have to tell everyone else. Of course, communication is key, but this is the modern day communication. Everyone adding to the family calendars. Another thing that is very helpful is having a personal dashboard, a digital dashboard. Something that I have seen a number of my clients use is Notion. Notion has a number of templates. A number of templates are also designed for individuals with ADHD. Outlook calendars, the Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Planner. Microsoft Planner this year has introduced, I believe, the Kanban board. And all of these tools, they help individuals with ADHD to plan their tasks, not only vertically, meaning how many tasks do they have, but also horizontally on a timeline. And that allows them to see how much time do they need to set aside for how many tasks. They can even break down their tasks further. So having a personal dashboard, having access to it on your phone, on your other digital devices, helps you to bring your day and your week to your visibility at any point of time.
So am I right to say that once anyone is actually using these apps, they should have it in almost all their devices that they're carrying around with them?
Oh yes, absolutely. We are surrounded by devices. We need to make use of these devices. You know, we keep on having the conversation that devices are adding a lot of distraction in our life, which I agree with it. I am not a fan of having devices at home, but there they are. We are surrounded by them, might as well use them, right? They can do wonderfully for an individual with ADHD.
So I guess I have to start learning to sync all my things together now, because
Absolutely.
I'm so lazy with regards to that. Thank you so much, Dr. Zainab, for today. So, what message would you like to leave our listeners with, especially to women who are juggling so many roles and responsibilities these days?
I would like to tell all the women out there, especially those with ADHD, that you are already superheroes. You don't have to go and prove to the world that you are superheroes. The fact that you are juggling all of this, and life is hard, you know, and the fact that you are going through this constant obstacle course is evidence enough that you are superheroes. Let this year be the year that you invest in your own mental health, that you prioritize yourself, because an emotionally regulated individual, an emotionally regulated mom is going to have an emotionally regulated household. So for the well-being of your own household, you need to prioritize your own mental health and well-being to begin with.
Yeah, so ladies, what Dr. Zainab will be doing is she will be having a retreat for ADHD, or rather women with ADHD, and this is going to happen in April, I believe.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Psych Connect is organizing a retreat, a full-day retreat for women with ADHD on 21st of April. The main idea is to bring on board, and I am not the only one, we have a number of facilitators. The idea is for it to have a group therapy flow. We start off in the morning and we finish in the evening, and we cover mindfulness based activities. We cover different therapies for ADHD. We cover health and body with ADHD, managing finances with ADHD, the awareness of menopause and ADHD, as well as managing diet with ADHD. Almost all of the ADHDers that I work with, especially women, they struggle with meal planning and finding a good diet. And we know that medicines of ADHD also interact negatively with the diet. So we are including we have a health coach, we have an art psychotherapist, we have an ADHD coach who is myself, and we have a clinical psychologist, and we plan to go through the whole aspect of ADHD, what ADHD is in women, and this is the first of its kind in Singapore, which is why I'm very excited.
Wow, okay, so wait no more. For ladies who wants to know more about how you can help yourself, or even if you just want to know what the symptoms and if what you're feeling really falls in line with ADHD being in the condition that you have, wait no more. Check out the website below, right? And sign up for the retreat. So once again, thank you so much, Dr. Zainab, for today.
I am so grateful, and I commend you for starting this conversation. This is so wonderful. You know, the horizon for women with ADHD is looking brighter and brighter day by day.
Yes, and to all the women out there, you can do it, and you can do so much more than you think you can. Thank you, and we will see you in the next episode on Mums, Money and More.